Way back in the ancient and long-forgotten days of the 1980s, video games used to come in little boxes and on shiny little circles called compact Ds. And just for clarification, the D stands for disc, not penis. And also, by extension, this includes DVDs because CDs were typically audio and DVDs had more space. Following the cyberpunk hookups to the World Wide Web via Ethernet cables, companies like Microsoft and Snowy began selling their games on online stores. This is following the release of an online video game store specifically for PC games that's really small and you've probably never heard of it. It's called Steam. And this was interesting for a number of reasons. For one, it means that all of the games are more conveniently located on your central computer rather than a billion different discs of different games. And more recently, with the inclusion of cloud saving that the companies have begun rolling out, you can now save all of your save progress to a centralized server so that if a fire comes and sweeps through your house and destroys, HDDs and CDs alike, all of that progress is still located away from the disaster site, which means as long as I can log into a new computer, I can download that data and we're back to playing Counter-Strike like nothing even happened, baby. So this is all really cool, right? It's more convenient than DVDs or CDs, and long-term, it's more secure. So why would anyone ever want a physical copy of a video game? And you know what? Let's extend it beyond video games. Why would anyone want a physical copy of music or a book or a movie when everything is more conveniently located online? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Like I said, extending beyond just the realm of video games, I firmly believe in physical media supremacy. And as of late, it seems like going to a physical store and buying a physical thing is slowly getting phased out. There was a certain joy of going to, back to school clothes shopping with your jaded mom at the local Sears in the mall. And then once you finished your shopping, you got to go to GameStop because I was so well behaved. And in the back seat of the car ride home, you read over the back of that and I have it right here, the back of the game case, looking at all the cool stuff while it's still wrapped in that saran wrap or whatever they wrap these things with. But we grew up, and now Sears is gone, and GameStop is following closely behind, and we can just buy these games online. So what's the point? And you're also not allowed to read over the back of the game case when you're driving because it's illegal or something. But I firmly believe that physical media should always have a place at home. Reason number one, simple. They look cool on a shelf. Much like how book people sort of judge other book people based on what books they display on their shelves at home, gamers can do the exact same thing. If you were to come into my gamer dungeon here and you looked behind me, you'd be like, oh, The Last of Us Part 2? I'm sorry. Or, oh, this cool game here? What's that? And that starts a dialogue. It's a talking piece. There's also a certain charm of looking at your video game shelf and being like, did I finish that? Or did I delete it to make space for another game? Or, haven't played that in a while, let's fire it up. And yeah, you can do that with Steam, but most of the time I just kind of end up doom scrolling through the list looking for something to play while never actually settling on anything. Whereas with a physical game on the shelf, there's a little bit of a romance of, pulling it off the shelf and sticking it in the old PS3. Okay, hang on. And if you're on PlayStation or Xbox, there's no reminder at all. Steam shows you your full library, the physical media, it's sitting on a shelf. But with PlayStation and Xbox, you have to actively seek it out to see what the games are that you've purchased in the past. And with music, it's the exact same thing. This stolen milk crate of vinyls isn't just, a conversation piece in the corner of my room. It serves an actual purpose. You just kind of, flip through here and be like, oh, here's an album I haven't listened to in a while. It's a Muse album. Who else I got in here? God forbid anyone comes into this gamer dungeon, these vinyls act as a conversation piece and an extension of who I am. And it's something that can't be replicated in the digital age unless you, I don't know, took a screenshot of your Spotify library and put it up on the wall. While the internet and its connectivity has become almost crucial for life in the modern age, something that has also become a hallmark of the modern age is giant companies making near monopolies on vital services, charging a premium while fucking over the working class. So while internet access is common, there are very real circumstances where an internet connection isn't applicable. Maybe someone just can't afford a decent connection, or let's say, hypothetically, for example, there is a company that delivers service to part of your neighborhood, but not all of it. It stops their access point stops at your neighbor's house, so they can have the internet but you can't. And I don't know, I'll just make up an example. Let's think of a funny name, something like, I don't know, Cox. So let's say someone doesn't have a 24/7 internet connection and they only get one a couple times a month. Disc-based physical games will allow them to enjoy that game as much as someone else, excluding online only games like any fantasy MMO or online competitive shooter. They would have to stick to the campaign, but still, it's a video game, it's a narrative, and it's something that can be enjoyed online or offline. Now, these games would probably be a little bit more buggy because, you don't have the day one patch, but just avoid any COD titles and you should be fine. In a little corner adjacent to this are movies, specifically because streaming services suck ass, and companies that own these streaming services need to come to grips with the fact that their existence is based on being slightly more convenient than piracy. Owning a physical copy of a movie not only acts as a conversation piece like we discussed about before, extension of myself displayed on a shelf, it also works around the onerous bylaws of streaming services. Some of my favorite movies of all time are Stanley Kubrick's 2001, John Carpenter's The Thing, and 10 Things I Hate About You. I'm not joking about the last part. It's a fantastic movie. And for the longest time, I couldn't find those anywhere online. So I did the reasonable thing, and I bought them on Amazon. And I'm not joking, after I watched all of them, The Thing showed up on Netflix. But I will say, I don't regret my purchase at all. I don't know when 10 Things I Hate About You will leave Disney Plus. I don't know when 2001 will stop being shown on HBO Max. And I don't know when The Thing is leaving Netflix. Regardless of what happens to any of those services or any of those movies, I still own them and I can watch them at any point that I want. And now, let's talk about music. Think about a song that you really enjoyed that was on Spotify for a long time before they just kind of stopped having it. There's a band that, if you know of them at all, you either enjoy the music or you're a Taylor Swift fan because they collaborated with her, called The National. It's a little indie rock band, and one of my favorite songs ever is a song by them that was featured in, I am not joking, an Easter egg for Portal 2. This song was so good. But unfortunately, Spotify stopped carrying it along with its B-side, Think You Can Wait. Obviously, re-uploads still exist online, but there's no way for me to listen to it while I'm in the car unless I pay a ridiculous premium to subscribe to YouTube. There's also a absolutely fantastic song called Fragile by Tatsuro Yamashita, which was the main sample for Tyler, the Creator's track Thank You. The song is absolutely beautiful, but because of some, I don't know, dumb bullshit copyright reasons, it's unavailable in the US. And any copies or re-uploads that exist on YouTube, for example, usually get taken down pretty quick. These are just a few examples of some songs that I wish I had physically or, saved to a drive somewhere, because there's no convenient way for me to listen to them when I want. Another really cool thing you can sometimes get, usually when a video game first releases, are Steelbook editions. And just, so we can sum it up to move on, Jakey made an entire thing about video game box art that played a little bit of a role in me making this. Video game box art used to be really good back when they would hire artists to create custom artwork for the video game. However, more recently, companies have figured out that they can bust out cover art in, 30 minutes tops by just using the integrated photo mode for the game. And also, here's a little asterisk. This is why I've been showing off The Last of Us 2 the whole time. Usually, and this is only for PlayStation games, they have this cool little, B-side for artwork. So, usually what I do is I just kind of take out this little paper piece and flip it around and put that in the case because it looks way better than... Anyway, but it's just a cool little Easter egg that I think more people should recognize and appreciate. So, back on track. Steelbooks. They're usually made of metal. I'm not 100% sure what metal. Yes, Steelbook is the name, but you can't tell me this is 100% steel. That would be insanely expensive. Usually it features some really cool minimalist artwork for the game. This is one for Shadow of War that on one end has Celebrimbor and on the other end has Talion. And when you do this... Also, side note, I bought this off of eBay or whatever, and I managed to talk the guy down to $20 for it, so get brain. Now, I'm a funny little guy. I have an assortment of trinkets, knickknacks, and doodads on these shelves behind me. And normally when a game launches, they will do a special collector's edition that features an assortment of little trinkets, knickknacks, and doodads. Like a statue or some cool article of clothing. I know this isn't exactly uncommon or anything, but it's still nice to see. And with an ever-growing digital marketplace, there is less incentive to continue to do that. This is a little bit off topic, but still sort of in the realm. When LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga first came out, some editions came with a special minifigure that was made specifically for the collector's edition of that game. And any LEGO Star Wars set at the time had special codes hidden inside the instruction booklets that you could use to unlock vehicles in the game. That is insanely cool. Using real Legos to promote a Lego video game, that is, I can't even say how cool that is. An underrated feeling, in my opinion, is physical copies for books. And this is probably just a me thing, but I have a lot harder of a time focusing on something I'm reading when it's on a tablet like this, rather than feeling the actual physical paper in my hand as I read something. What the fuck is going on here? And maybe I'm just being like a crazy hipster here, but have you ever tried reading a comic book digitally? It just doesn't hit the same as seeing something like this in your actual hands while you flip through the pages. Humans are inherently social creatures, and as an introvert myself, I can fully understand people wanting their own space, their own private time. But as innovations are made in technology, it seems like we are more focused on driving people further apart. Yes, I can buy a book digitally, and it is oftentimes more convenient than driving to Barnes & Noble or to a comic store. The PlayStation Store is more convenient than a GameStop, or Steam is more convenient than a GameStop. Notice I didn't say cheaper. That's very important. And as a little side note, let me get up on a soapbox here. If you're selling a game digitally and it is a digital exclusive game, there is no fucking reason why it should be $60 to $70. $60 to $70 should normally include the cost of manufacturing. For instance, like we talked about with CDs or even older, N64 games with the cartridges, those things would cost $60 to $70. A digital game that is the exact same should not cost $60 to $70 because you don't have to manufacture the physical part of that game. Companies are just doing it because they're greedy little bastards. And simply watching Evangelion on Netflix is more convenient than ordering the box set off of Amazon. But let's do some math here. The physical copy that I bought is $40. Netflix starts at $7 a month, and that is including advertisements in your membership. Meaning you could watch Evangelion on Netflix with ads for $7 a month, or buy the box set for $40, and after 5 months, you begin saving the money that you would have been sinking into a Netflix subscription. I wanted to come on here and gush about this for a minute, because as we cascade barreling forward into an ever-growing technological future, physical media will always hold a very special place in my heart, and I hope it will in yours too. At the end of the day, if your computer is ruined, or God forbid, Steam goes down, those games go along with it. But with a physical copy of the game, the sun can explode, but as long as you have a sticker in the inside of your game case, GameStop will replace that entire disc. And that's really cool, I think.